Hello, all of you. I warmly welcome all of you in this audio storybook Random Stories. Name of today's story is Lost Heritage. Roshan woke up in a cold sweat, his heart pounding in his chest. He sat up in bed, trying to shake off the feeling of fear and dread that had overcome him in his dream. He couldn't shake off the image of the old woman in the black sari, trying to climb in through his window. As he sat there, trying to calm himself down, he remembered the first scene of the dream. He felt a pang of guilt as he thought about how he had treated the old woman who had begged for food. He realized that he had been too harsh on her. He got out of bed and walked over to the window, peering out into the darkness. It was quiet outside, except for the distant sound of a dog barking. Roshan shook his head, trying to convince himself that it was just a dream. But he couldn't ignore the feeling that there was something more to it than that. The memory of the old woman begging for bread came flooding back to him. He felt a pang of guilt for scolding her instead of helping her. He wondered if his actions in the dream had somehow contributed to her death. Roshan decided to take a walk to clear his head. After getting dressed, he stepped out for a stroll. A cold breeze was blowing as he walked through the deserted streets of his town. Forgetting about everything, he started feeling comfortable and happy while enjoying the breeze and his surroundings. Suddenly, something caught Roshan's eye, which made his blood run cold. A group of people had gathered outside a government building, chanting and waving signs. Roshan couldn't read the signs or understand the meaning of the chanting, as the people were dressed in a manner uncommon in present times. As Roshan watched the crowd, a surge of fear ran through him. His heart stopped when he saw something that he couldn't believe. Among the people in the crowd was the old woman from his dream. She was chanting with the others, her face contorted with anger and hatred. Roshan started walking faster towards the group. When he reached there, he immediately approached the old lady and asked, "Who are you? What do you want? What language are you using to make signs and chanting?" The old woman started laughing, and suddenly the whole group joined her. Within seconds, the crowd disappeared, leaving Roshan alone in front of the government building. Confused and scared, Roshan didn't understand anything that had just happened. Before leaving, he noticed a security guard taking pictures of him without his knowledge. Feeling uneasy, Roshan quickly left the area, wondering if what he saw was real or just a part of his imagination. Roshan decided to do some research about the history of his country. He wanted to find out more about the religion and culture of his country from origin. He also wanted to learn more about the changes that had occurred in language and education system. As he delved deeper into his research, Roshan began to understand the significance of his dream. The old woman in the dream was a symbol of the old ways of life that had been lost. Her hunger and the fact that she died in Roshan's dream was a representation of the hunger for knowledge that had been lost. The old woman in the black sari was a symbol of the past that was trying to reach out to him. Roshan realized that his dream was a wake-up call. He needed to reconnect with his country's history and find a way to honor the traditions of the past while still moving forward. He knew that it wouldn't be easy, but he was determined to try. One day, Roshan and his wife Begum kidnapped. Roshan and Begum sat huddled as well as naked in the small cage, their bodies pressed tightly against each other. The room was dark and dreary, and the only sounds that could be heard were the screams of pain coming from the other young boys and girls who were locked in cages fixed on the wall. At fixed intervals, a person came to take rounds of the room. One day, as the person was making his rounds, Roshan couldn't bear it anymore. He screamed out, "Please leave us. We haven't done anything wrong. Whatever you people want us to do, we will do it together." The man taking the rounds stopped and looked at Roshan for a moment. "What are you talking about?" he asked. Roshan repeated himself, "Please leave us." The man started laughing loudly and asked, "Now you're not interested in lost heritage?" Roshan was confused. "What do you mean?" he asked. The man walked over to Roshan's cage and looked him straight in the eyes. "You were so obsessed with finding your lost heritage that you didn't even stop to think about the consequences. Well, now you're paying the price." Roshan and Begum looked at each other in disbelief. They couldn't believe that they had been kidnapped because of their search for their lost heritage. The man continued, "But don't worry, you'll have plenty of time to think about it in here. And who knows, maybe you'll even learn something new about yourselves." Roshan and Begum sat silently in their cage, wondering what was going to happen to them next. They had never felt so helpless and alone. As the days turned into weeks and the weeks turned into months, a man approached Roshan and offered to forward his request to higher officers if he was willing to keep his word. Begum eagerly agreed, saying, "Please, we are ready." A week later, Roshan and Begum signed a paper and, after a few more days, received their clothes back, along with medical treatment and a surveillance device inserted into their bodies. They were then released. Despite learning the truth about their lost heritage, Roshan and Begum never spoke of it again. As time passed, a new generation emerged, curious about their ancestral roots. Upon discovering the truth, they eagerly adopted their lost heritage. However, Roshan, Begum, and the others who had suffered in their pursuit of truth did not live to see this transformation in their country. The truth cannot be hidden forever, it may be delayed, but it will eventually come to light for all to see. Truth makes its own path and become powerful.